Hello everyone, my name is Christian. Welcome back to my hobby blog. I am so excited to be recording today because I just finished volume 35 of Berserk, and today I'm going to be giving a pretty wide and long review of the arc itself, because usually I do 3 volumes at a time, and I don't really get any views with that short amount of story covered. And because I'm wanting to do more reading and just sort of want to put more time towards doing arc reviews than just every 3 volumes, because it does kind of interrupt the flow, and I can just talk about the highlights of the arc. I don't want to go through every single story beat. Not all of it's the best, in my opinion, but with Berserk, I'll give a non-spoiler review of the Millennium Falcon arc, which is volumes like 23 to 35 or something like that. But I'll mostly be talking about 27 through 35 because I've already reviewed the first 3 volumes of the arc, and I really love the beginning of it, but the rest of the arc, I think this is absolutely my favorite arc of Berserk, because Berserk is a series that's very violent, very bloody, very edgy, very philosophical as well, I feel like, where you're kind of just seeing all these very different villains and heroes and how they deal with different situations. And the villains that are introduced in this arc are some of my favorite in media ever. There were some story moments that I felt like were easily my favorite of anything I've ever read or even watched on TV, like anything. And I think this arc also just shows probably the best artwork I've ever seen in my life. You can't really see it on my computer right now, but I have a whole folder that for my desktop background that I use that cycles every hour something new, and most of it is Berserk panels, because you can just right click it online and just save image as, and I just put it in the folder. And the artwork in these volumes are just some of the best that I've ever seen. And there was some really crazy shit going on in this arc, like things I did not expect the entire series to go towards, because I was thinking that Griffith and the rest of the God Hand, they would be, the villains of this arc, and they sort of take a back seat, and a new villain comes into the fore, and he is without a doubt the most terrifying villain I've ever seen. And I'm trying to say non-spoiler, but this villain is just the most evil-looking guy. The way that not Oda, sorry, that's One Piece. The way that Miura draws these panels with him is just so scary. The first time you see him, he's just like a black silhouette, and everything else behind him is like colored, and you only see like his mustache and his eyes are so menacing. Like Miura he is without a doubt the best manga drawer that I've ever seen. And I'm not a big manga guy, so I don't know like too many mangakas, but like comparing him with anybody else in the industry, like his stuff is just night and day, just the best. And he's also a fantasy guy, so it's really nice that we're getting just these levels of details with these volumes, and just the straight up WTF moments is just like my favorite this arc. There are so many of them. Every volume feels like an entire story or novel's worth of story going on, and moments, and awesome moments, and really emotional moments as well. Like, we see a lot of great characters from past arcs come back this arc. We have Princess Charlotte. We have a lot of people from Midland come back. We have a lot of Griffith, actually, this arc, which was amazing. I love reading about Griffith. He's not my favorite character for obvious reasons. If you've read through at least Golden Age, the first arc of the series, but I just really, really loved this arc. I implore everybody to go read Berserk. I think it's the best media of all time. I think it's the best series. I need to do like a top 10 favorite series or top 25 or something like that, because Berserk, I think, is definitely at number one, and there's just so many reasons for that. Even starting the first few volumes of the entire series, and I'm at the point now because I'm on the final arc that Miura did, and I'm just getting to the point where I'm like, I can feel the heaviness of my heart like getting heavier as I approach the end of the series, and it's not finished, of course, but we have because Miura died in 2021, very unexpectedly. It was not really. No one knew like his death was coming, and it was very sad. And I remember when that happened, and because George R. R. Martin, and like a few other older authors. Well, I mean, Miura's not older; he died in his 50s, but sort of these great series were ongoing at the time. And there was a lot of questions of like, oh, is it going to wrap up? You know, like how long do they have? And like all this different stuff. And like to hear, like I remember when he died and I was just like, damn, I'll probably never read Berserk because I feel like it's going to be too emotional reading through the series knowing that we're not getting any more. But then they announced that they're continuing the series and that they do have notes about the ending and specific moments. And I don't know exactly what that looks like. But I haven't really heard anything about the new volumes or the new chapters. There's only been like a handful, I think, that have been released because it's like every 3 months they do a chapter, which is a very long time. I'm not used to that as a one chapter a week, every 2 week manga reader with One Piece. And I just started Kaguya Bachi and also Chainsaw Man. I'll try to do reviews for that at some point soon. But Berserk is without a doubt my favorite manga of all time. And nothing can ever top it, I feel like. It's just so well done. And I think I would now go into spoilers because there's really not too much that I can talk about without spoilers. So if you haven't read through volume 35, and I would be doing the whole volume, even though only the first chapter of 35 is part of this arc. And the next 9 chapters are like in the next arc, Fantasia. So I will be covering that. So, you know, don't watch this if you only read the first chapter of that volume. I will get into spoilers past that. But oh my god. So the last time I did a review, we talked about the Grunwald versus Guts fight when he first gets his Berserker armor, which I actually have a wallet that has him in the Berserker armor, and I love it. I love this wallet. Got it for Christmas this past year, like right when I read that volume, because I need a new wallet. It was fucked up. I had it for like a decade and it was falling apart. There was duct tape holding it together. So I'm very happy to have it, and I love seeing it like just throughout the day, unexpectedly when I go to the store and all that. But he was fighting Grunwald, and Grunwald turned into this giant like crystal dragon. And they were fighting, and they didn't finish the fight. Like, Grunwald didn't die, Guts didn't die, but they stopped the fight, and then Shirka had to go save Guts in the astral world, which was a very cool moment. I really love the character of Shirka. I think she's a very cool magic wielder, and she does just a lot of really cool shit throughout the series, because she's not like some big strong warrior. She's a very small wizard, and she has a lot of strengths in other places that Guts does not have. And she's teaching Farnese how to use the magic, and like that entire fight was just awesome. I love starting these volumes with that, and especially the transformation of Grunwald into this giant dragon. It was just so fucking cool. Like I really, really love kind of the visuals that Miura imagines and puts to paper. Like, it's just such a beautiful, such an expansive creativity, too. Like, I just really, really love... I just wish he was still alive. Like, that's really the only thought I have about Miura right now. But I just really loved, also, that after this fight, they finally reach the ocean, and we get this really beautiful few chapters of them just being together in this found family type of situation and talking and just kind of debriefing with each other. And there's really no threats going on. Like, there's no like apostles showing up. Like, it's a very kind of slow few chapters where it's very meditative, it's very tranquil, and it was just really nice. Like they're walking along the beach and they're just kind of like walking in silence, just thinking about the journeys and what's coming ahead and all this stuff, because they're heading to the city of Vritannis, which I think I said that right, Britannis, something like that, which is the city that Farnese was kind of part of the royal family with. Her entire royal family is there. Her mom, dad, some brothers who we meet. But before they get to the city, they are attacked by these giant, like, elephant, fish, like, creatures, like, from the some people. And it ends up being that we get it from this wizard, creepy guy named Daiba, who is a very fun character. I feel like he is just a weird, eccentric character who I think, like, I would love to see all of this animated. I don't know how they will do that. That's going to have to take, like, millions upon millions of dollars to animate. But, like, Daiba ends up being one of the wizard advisors of the Emperor, Demon Emperor, is what his title is, of Ganeshka, who is this new villain. And I don't think we met him in the previous volumes. I think he showed up in 27 or 28 for the first time, maybe 29, I don't know. But I've been reading all these volumes since October, so I haven't read it in a while. But Ganeshka is the demon emperor. He is someone who is just really terrifying. Again, he is written or drawn in a way where it's all black, like his entire silhouette, and you just see like his eyes and like his mustache, and he has a very glorious mustache, by the way. I kind of loved it. But he is introduced, and he's the Emperor of Kushan, so we finally kind of see the lands of Kushan, and he is an apostle. He's an apostle emperor who is seeking to topple the God Hand because he thinks he's better than them, which I really loved that character trait of him, because I thought that was such an interesting way to introduce his character, because I was like, oh man, I loved him when he first appeared. I was like, oh my gosh, like this is such a interesting villain. Like, but he was going on and on about how like he's a demon emperor, like he's going to take over the world, and he wants to topple the God Hand and like all this stuff. And we see his palace, and it's full of these really nasty apostles. He has an entire room where they're all kind of like locked up and chained together into this like one giant mass of just apostles. And that drawing was so nasty. I just took like 10 minutes to just look at that one panel. And it comes about later in the arc, that comes back, that entire room of apostles. And we find out that he has Princess Charlotte, who is the princess that Griffith had raped before he was chained and tortured in the dungeons at Midland. And Griffith just flies on Nosferatu Zod, like, to Kushan, to Ganeshka, and just takes the entire bed that Charlotte is on and just flies away with Nosferatu Zod. And I loved that moment. And before that happened, we actually have a really nasty encounter between Ganeshka and Charlotte, where he's like climbing like into the bed, and like the way that he is drawn by Miura is just so nasty. It's so creepy. It's spine like cringing, like spine tingling, like all this stuff. Like it was just so nasty the way that Miura drew him. And that was his introduction. And I just, like, what a way to introduce a new villain. Like, I just absolutely loved it. And after that point, we come back to Guts and the rest of the crew, and we see them approaching the city of Vritannis, and they get in, and Farnese kind of just disappears and goes back to her family and says, like, no, the life of adventuring is not for me. And her family is like really pushing her to come back into the royal family and not be like the commander of the Holy See army, the religious kind of force that they have in Midland. And I just loved the city. We got like a few volumes, 3 volumes, I think, in the city. It's very beautiful. It's by the ocean, and we get a moment that I just really loved where they're in the ballroom and they're dancing and there's music playing, and they're kind of guests of honor because Vonnies knows them and it's like, hey, like these are the people who protected me on my journey, and it's amazing, and I just really loved that scene. But in the middle of the ballroom scene, all the lights go out, and it ends up like somebody who ends up being Daiba sends in all these really large like tiger creatures, and where it has like really nasty like apostle teeth that you see a lot in the series. Was very jagged, and there's like dozens of teeth, and this thing just goes through and just murders a lot of people, and these people have never really seen like monsters in the world. Like they don't believe the rumors, and they come to show up in the ballroom right in front of them, and they're all freaking out, and we meet the character of Roderick, who is Farnese's brother, and I was very distrustful of him actually when we first met him, but I see now that he is definitely an ally. And so, like, it was really funny because this tiger starts massacring, like, the ballroom, and Guts comes in with his awesome sword, and he starts killing all of them, and more keep showing up, and then they go outside the ballroom, and they see the entire Kushan, like, fleet there. And they're bringing in, like, so many different people. A lot of different creatures. The sea creatures come out, too, that Guts had killed previously. They rampage through the city. We have a lot of demon knights coming through the city and killing a lot of people. And so Shirka is actually the one who kind of summons the god of the sea and uses it to kill as many of these creatures as possible, and also uses a lot of fire to like light the entire fleet on fire, and it's awesome. And then we get an awesome moment when, like, before they leave on a ship, because Guts and everyone else, like, they're trying to get to Roderick's ship. And they're kind of, like, fighting through the city. Everyone is being awesome. Isidro's being cool. Casca is still kind of just there, like, hanging around. I really hope she gets her consciousness back and she can talk and have her own agency again, but we'll see. But I really love the part where Nosferatu Zod shows up. And we even have Lightning Ganishka show up because he is an apostle and he has lightning powers. And he shows up and he and Daiba, like, they start just putting in all the strength forward. And we have this really epic moment when Guts rides on Nosferatu Zod and is fighting Ganishka. And I thought it was the coolest fucking thing ever. I love that panel. And Ganishka is kind of disabled for a bit, where his cloud form like disappears, and Daiba flies away on a creature, like a flying dragon, something like that. And it was just so fun to get all that like epic moments. And then Ganishka, he comes back to his palace, and probably the most disgusting thing I've ever seen happens, where he finally descends into this big mass of like apostles, and he is eaten by them, but he is able to sort of overcome the spiritual or astral realm, in which that he is able to take all of the powers of the apostles and turn into this like super tall, even higher than a skyscraper, like miles high. Well, maybe not higher than like a mile, but it's this really large entity that Ganishka turns into. And I love the slow reveal where you see Daiba being like, "What's going on, Emperor? Like, what's going on with you?" And you see Ganishka like in the very deep shadows, and he has multiple faces on this large blob of apostles. And then you see like all his, like fingers coming out of, or tentacles coming out of the ground, toppling entire like buildings, and he basically wipes out his own city doing this. It was really crazy, this entire moment. and part of the story, where we have Ganishka rising above, and he just keeps building higher and higher until he's finally like this giant creature just rampaging across the land. He doesn't move fast, but he basically just steps on like thousands of people because he's just that big that every step he can just kill thousands. And he's like, look at these ants, like they turned into red flowers. And it was like just really messed up how he was talking about all these people that he was killing because they were Band of the Hawk people. And yeah, before that even happens, I skipped probably one of the coolest moments ever. But after the ship fighting and with Ganishka and all that, he then meets with Griffith on the battlefield. And we have the Band of the Hawk versus the Kushan army. And we have all of Griffith's like closest allies. We have Grunbeld show up. We have the marksman guy who turns into an awesome like creature of like metal and it's like really sharp points, and he has like a scythe or something. I can't remember exactly his design. But we have him. We have Nosferatu Zod shows up. We just have a lot of just hundreds of thousands of monsters and apostles and all these amazing fighters show up against the Kushan. And they also have Midland people, armies with them too, and they have no idea that Griffith is part of the God Hand. And so they go over pretty bad during this battle because they're like, yeah, protect Griffith, protect the, Band of the Hawk and all this stuff. And he turns into Femto eventually because he has a one-on-one with Ganishka, and they basically agree that they're going to go fight in Griffith's palace or something, or maybe Ganishka's palace. And they're going to have a big one-on-one, and that will kind of prove to each other like who's the better one, because I think Ganishka does know that Griffith is Femto, and so he is able to kind of like detect that, and he's like, I want to kill this guy, like I should be better than him, like because I'm the emperor, I'm the dread, god, and all this stuff. And we have just this amazing fight, like it's kind of like the battle at Minas Tirith, but instead of orcs and all that, we have just tons of apostles and all that stuff. Like, I just really, really love this big battle. And after that is when Ganishka turns into this just giant creature. And he's just massacring some Band of the Hawk that's just kind of laying like a mile away. And he just takes one step and just steps on them and kills them all. And then Ganishka is like, he sends out this big kind of like wave. Okay, I'm a little too early on that. There's so much going on in these volumes. It's hard to remember everything, so I apologize. But like Ganishka is like rampaging, and like Shirka can detect his presence like from hundreds of miles away. I don't know how close they are. And so Griffith and those Nosferatu Zod show up. And then we also have Skull Knight show up, who is like trying to kill Ganishka also, and also going for Griffith. And Griffith, or Nosferatu Zod and Skull Knight, they're kind of like, we're not going to fight yet. Like, we have a bigger issue to deal with right now. And so all three of them kind of help each other to kill Ganishka. And when they do that, we have this awesome scene where Griffith just kind of like rips open the fabric of the universe, the fabric of reality. And because a lot of characters can do this. We've seen Skull Knight do that. We've seen Void do that. We haven't seen Void in a fucking long ass time. I would really love to see him on screen again, because we got everyone else in upcoming chapter that I'm talking about. But he rips apart like the fabric of reality and is able to basically bring in that giant like whirlpool that we've seen a few times over the series, with all the different demons and all the different creatures that we've seen. And he basically like just one hit kills Ganishka and like traps him in this thing. and he is just sucked into it and he dies. And it releases this giant wave of like white light that is basically taking the thin fabric that we had, the thin layer between the demon realm and the real realm of, you know, what we live, and it basically just rips that apart and just demons all over the world, because we see Guts and the rest of the crew on the boat, and we see the wave go through them, and immediately they're being attacked by all these different creatures and all that, which we have a fun new character show up named Captain, what is it, like Bonebeard, something like that, Bloodbeard, something like that. He was basically a pirate apostle, and I love this character. I love pirates. And so it was really fun to get this, like, kind of like a Davy Jones type of character, where he's like, he has a ship that can go underwater, and it, you know, banks, and he basically gets away before he is killed, and he's like, I'll fight you again, Guts, like, I'll get you one day, and he disappears. But after that wave goes through, they're at Midland, and an entire city has risen from deep underground, and it's called Falconia, which is an old city that we don't really know anything about, but Griffith is going to use that as his palace from now on. And he and all the other apostles and Nosferatu Zod, like, they all come in to that city. And another thing that I really loved during the death of Ganishka is that Griffith finally unveils himself as Femto to the people there. And we have this just really awesome artwork where we have, like, Femto, we have Nosferatu Zod, we have Skull Knight on top of Ganishka. And it's like this big landscape, like, panel, basically, because that's how big Ganishka is. And it was just really fucking cool to get that. And when they kill Ganishka and the wave goes through, we actually have a moment where we see all of the God Hand for the first time in, like, since the eclipse. And I love that moment, because we have Slan show up, and we've seen her like a few volumes ago, early in the arc, when she was fighting with Guts and Skull Knight. But like, we also see Ubik, we see Conrad, and we see a brain, which I assume is Void. We don't really see him in the flesh, but I really loved Ubik's panel the most, because it's a reference to a very old painting. I don't know the name of it, but it's a very bizarre looking one, and he's a bizarre character, bizarre God Hand. So I really, really loved that panel specifically. It was just such a fun arc. Like, I basically talked about everything. The Fantasia arc, that's when the pirate captain stuff happens, and we have Captain Bloodbone or Bonebeard, something like that. I'm sorry if I can't remember the name. But we also have, like, the first chapter of the new arc, Fantasia, is the Falconia city kind of coming up, and man, I just can't wait to continue the series. I love the series. Berserk is easily the best series of all time. I feel that very strongly, and this arc, I feel like, is the best arc of Berserk. I know I've already said that in the non-spoiler section, but after explaining all of this, it was just every volume was so fucking hyped. Like, I just really, really loved it, and I just cannot wait to continue. And I only have like 5 volumes left of what Miura has done, and so that really depresses me, I'll be honest. But I know Falconia is actually a pretty short arc compared to these last few ones that have been like 13 volumes and all this stuff. So we shall see what the next arc brings to me. I'm very excited for this. Let me know what you think below if you're still watching. I just need more people to read Berserk, because my god, what an awesome series. And thank you all for watching, and please have a great rest of the day, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.